seminar today. Uh, and we are grateful to Dr. Gleb for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much, Dr. Gleb. I know you are very busy, but still you have accepted our invitation. Thank you very much. I just want to say a few words to our members. Um, as you know, all ASNT Canada has started in 2023 October 23. Uh, but just after starting, we want to fly, but we couldn't. We couldn't for various reasons. Okay, so there were some changes in infrastructure changes made by ASNT. Our website was uh, dismantled, and the communication tools were not active. So we had some difficulties, technical difficulties in reaching out to our members. We apologize for that, but then we are trying to revive that. We are trying to restore the activities from the executive committee and do our best to serve the ASNT Canada-wide. So we thank you for your patience, and we are going to be busy again starting from this year. So hopefully all the members are able to use the membership benefits, attend the seminars, uh, attend what your own speakers. I mean, we would like to encourage all the members to come forward and present their knowledge, share their knowledge, for the benefit of the community, NDT community in Canada. Okay, regardless of ASNT seminars, we can't compete with the ASNT. I mean, ASNT is so wide, so they have so many resources, but we will do our best. This is Canada-wide. It's going to be mostly the remote seminars because of the audience, the location of the audience. So please feel free to suggest whatever topics you are going to be interested, and you can. I mean, there are so many experts in this ASNT Canada membership. So I would like to encourage all the experts to come forward and share the knowledge for the benefit of everyone. Okay, so you will be hearing soon about the next seminar. Most probably going to be in October or in November. So please come forward and share your thoughts, and also try to help us in the executive committee. We need volunteers. There are some activities we can do. For example, the website needs to be reconstructed. The communication tools need to be restored. There are so many activities are there. So if you have time, if you can spare time, and you can do some presentations or whatever you can help us with volunteering, we welcome you. Okay, thank you very much. And without much ado, I would like to introduce the speaker today, Dr. Gleb. Thank you very much for joining. I know Dr. Gleb has been a very active pioneer, I can say, in AI technology. So I am impressed with this name of the company, Disaster Avoidance Expertise. So that's a great name. I was very much impressed when he presented the same topic for the ASNT education. So I requested Dr. Glab to come and share his knowledge for the benefit of our ASNT members. Okay, so he has been in the business for more than 20 years, both academic and industrial, consulting, coaching, training, for Fortune 500 companies. So I think he's going to give us some snapshot of how AI tools can be used from concept to implementation in NDT. Okay, so at the end of so if you have any questions, please drop down in this chat box, question and answers, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. And also you can reach out to Dr. Glab based on his email. Okay, so please feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions or help in the future. Okay, so without much ado, the table is with Dr. Clapp.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Chris. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. So let's talk about AI agents in non-destructive testing. That's the focus of today's presentation. So that's what we want to talk about. Now, in terms of logistics, I'll be sharing my screen in just a bit. but I want to put in the chat a resource link for the resources from this presentation. So if you want the resources from this presentation, the resource link is going to be in the chat. It's tinyurl.com/DAE-EVENT, tinyurl.com/DAE event. So please go to that in order to get the resources from this presentation. And it's also going to be the link that you see under my name, the post-training tools and resources on how you as NDT professionals, non-destructive testing professionals, can effectively use AI agents. So that's going to be what we'll be talking about today. From conception to implementation, using AI agents in non-destructive testing. First, the agenda. The modern NDT challenge, then I'll look at AI agents, first talking about the NDT challenge, what's going on, what's the context. Then we'll talk about some AI agents that are going to be what it is. There's a lot of jargon and hype out there, so I'll talk about what's practical and useful. Then I'll talk about some agent ideas for you as professionals, and I'll give a live demo of an agent. Then we'll talk about the AI Agent Innovation Challenge workshop and how you can get started today, finally followed by Q&A and resources. So that's the agenda of the presentation. That's what you can anticipate. All right. So what are you dealing with? You have tons of documents that you're dealing with. You're spending some of your time obviously doing testing, but you're probably spending even more of your time dealing with various forms of paperwork, from filling out reports to asynchronous communication, email, and so on. You're looking at handbooks, technique sheets, past reports, you're trying to do research, and finding that information and filling it out effectively is difficult. Training other technicians in your specific methods takes a lot of time. Ensuring consistency is a lot of effort. A solution is a personalized AI assistant that can be customized to your specific needs. An expert assistant trained on your specific documents that understands both broad NDT terms and your company's specific methods, can answer questions and generate documents in seconds, working 24/7, and ensuring consistency, not forgetting. That is the promise of an AI agent. What do people currently do? There's Google Search, which is great for public web pages, searching for keywords. There's public ChatGPT tools, which ChatGPT, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Claude Anthropic. It's great for general knowledge, trained on the internet in general. But they don't know ASNT or your company's specific procedures. They don't have access to your private reports or manuals. And of course, you don't want to upload proprietary data to public tools that will be trained on in terms of the kind of company regulations and procedures. They probably have limitations on that. So their answers can be too specific for your specialized NDT work. So what you want is a tool built for you that knows your documents, can access your own information. It's a private expert system that you can control. So what is a custom AI agent? It's a digital apprentice, like an intern. Think of it as an intern. Train it on your expert knowledge. Think of it as like a smart college freshman. So that's probably the equivalent that you want to think about, or maybe a very advanced high school senior. College freshman is probably a better modality. It learns to perform specific tasks for you. It's built from three core components. First is the large language model, and there are several that you can choose. One is the Claude Opus 4.1, that's Anthropic. One is OpenAI's GPT-5, and another is Gemini 2.5 Pro. Those are the most advanced ones at this stage. Microsoft Copilot uses GPT-5 in its backend, so I'm not listing it as the large language model, but if you use a Microsoft Copilot, it's just as good as using GPT-5 with some limitations. Not some limitations, some particularities. So think of it as a brilliant new hire, again, fresh from university, not a college senior, but a college freshman. It can read, write, and reason, great, but it doesn't have NDT experience. Then your documents, your training material that you provide to this brain, a private library of your handbooks, standard operating procedures, reports, technique sheets, everything. The agent will rely on information from this library that you provide won't search the public internet for answers unless you direct it to do so. And finally, the skill set, your instructions, your job description, what you tell this college intern to do. Simple, plain language English instructions. So that's a nice thing. You don't need to know coding. It's just natural language programming. It's you just write those instructions. The secret sauce is getting the instructions right. You'll spend most of your time and effort here because you have already the pre-built large language model. Then you have your existing knowledge corpus that you feed into it. The challenge is having the instructions be correct. So you'll need to experiment with different instructions. That's where you'll spend most of your time creating an agent to figure out what works best. Again, if you work with NDT reports, if you have a good grasp of English, you'll be fine. How it all works together. So you ask the agent for a task in plain text. It consults its private knowledge library, it follows your instructions, that's the skills, and it provides an expert answer based on your data. Why this matters? It'll provide you with trusted proprietary answers. Your data will be private, it won't leave your environment. If you get the paid version, that's the enterprise version. So here we're only talking about enterprise versions, by the way, to be very clear. We're talking about paid versions. So there are two types for each of those language models that I talked about, Gemini, Claude Anthropic, and GPT-5. Those have, well, free versions. One is the public free version. That's just automatically trained on your data. The reason they're giving you access to it is because they're training on your data. You have the paid personal version. Now, in the paid personal version, you need to go through some hoops to make sure that your data is not trained on, to opt out of the default setting, which is the default settings that your data is paid on. And then some tools like Gemini, you'll have some limitations on the tool if you opt out of the data sharing. And finally, you have the enterprise version. The enterprise version is completely secure. There's no like opt-in or out. It will not train on your data. So by default, your data will not be trained on. You can probably opt into training on your data if you're an enterprise, but why would you do that? So that's great. Oh, that's the data privacy part. So I just want to clarify that. I know not a number of folks have questions about it. If you have questions about it more, you can pop into the chat. Now it's going to be efficient. It'll help you automate repetitive tasks and free up your time as an expert. Let's talk about some practical agents you can build. Entity report generator, method selector and advisor, technique sheet generator, buyer's guide advisor, and equipment advisor. What's a report generator? So you have raw entity data. You run some kind of testing procedure, ultra radioactive testing, ultrasound testing, and then you want to turn it into a formatted report. That's great. As a tool, it'll take you a while to do by hand, but this tool will make it very easy and quick if you put your notes into it. So reduces report writing time from hours to minutes, ensures consistent terminology and format, it follows your standards and procedures, and of course, you want your technicians, you, to review and approve it before finalization. So that's one tool that you can build. And again, that can be highly useful, save you a lot of time. Another is a method selected advisor. So if you think of the variety of methods that you can select, and especially for tasks that you might not be as familiar with, it can, or some new tasks, innovative ones, maybe new tools that came out, it can recommend optimal methods based on material, geometry, and defect type. Ranks methods by effectiveness, cost, and time requirements, highlighting limitations and challenges. It cites relevant standards and procedures from your library or the ASNT library, depending on what documents you upload into it, and helps train new technicians, especially in method selection rationale, but also helps experienced technicians with new areas. Technique sheet generator creates detailed technique sheets for any method. Step-by-step procedures, equipment lists, safety protocols, helps you ensure compliance with ASNT standards, your own company procedures. It updates automatically when standards or procedures change when you upload those into the knowledge base. And of course, again, you'd have expert review and approval before finalizing. Fourth idea, help you make better equipment purchasing decisions. You probably don't know all the equipment that's out there, especially new stuff, So this helps you compare feature specifications and prices across vendors with cost-benefit ratios, helps you use your organization's past purchasing experiences and detailed purchase justification reports, which are a hassle and take a lot of time. Another idea is an equipment advisor that can monitor equipment health and performance, create maintenance schedules, provide step-by-step troubleshooting guidance, tracks calibration history, recalibration needs, and maintains complete history, equipment history for compliance. So those are some ideas of tools. And let me share with you some tool examples, just so you understand how they work. All right. So this is an NDT report generator. And here is a prompt that you put into it. So generate the full 18 deliverable pipeline, just some notes that you would take after doing a test. For radiographic test of weld IFLW using the following information. The source, the SFD, source size, film, exposure, calculated UG and density compliance, IQI, acceptance criteria, and so on. The inspectors who signed off. So just notes that you have. And then it'll take a
Sorry,
couple of
Dr. Gat,
minutes.
can you share the screen, please? I don't think I have seen the screen. Are you sharing the screen?
Yes, that's right. You should be able to see the screen with the ASNT NDT report generator. Is there someone who's not seeing it?
Yeah, he's right
Okay,
there on the screen. Yeah.
okay, all right. I am not. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, this is it. So you should be
Okay.
able to see it. Mhm. So this is the report generator tool. So you'll notice this is in ChatGPT. Just using ChatGPT again, you can use for this, you can use Claude Anthropic, of which is going to be right next to it. I use all three tools. Of that's another one that you can use. You can use Gemini. So another quite useful tool of if you have extensive Microsoft tools, I just recommend using Microsoft Copilot because they'll be integrated into the ecosystem. And so that's going to be the tools that you want to use. So this, in the meantime, you can click on, so this is what's, it'll take a couple of minutes to generate this information. But the crucial thing that you can do is in the meantime, you can see what it's doing. So here is the prompt. And here it's reading certain documents. You need to make assumptions about the pipe weld thickness, maybe 12 millimeters, thickness is unknown. You need to document assumptions carefully, the required densities, windows between 2 and 4. And so you can see as you're developing the tool over time, you'll have your first version of instructions. And I'll show you the instructions in a bit. And you'll see how the tool responds to your instructions through its internal thinking process. And you should say, okay, is it following ASME 5 Article 2? Oh, is this right? Does this make sense? Like, I'm not an expert in this, you're an expert in this, or whatever area that you want to make an expertise. You need to make sure the report includes necessary personnel info and signatures, cite them uploaded files, RTN standards, should reference a citation token, create content objects so you'll see what it's doing. Oh, so 18 deliverables and so on. Now, so you can always observe what's going on. And now here it's just generating these objects, the output. Now let's take a look at the actual back end of this tool before we look at the output. So this has a document that comprises what all the information on non-destructive testing, and it just has all the information. So this was from using ASNT standards. They provided me with with their documentation on standards for creating reports, and I developed this document based on their standards. So this is just a document that contains their standards. Here is the crucial thing for the instructions. So instructions, mission, nonstop policy, run to completion, complete deliverable pipeline, always use code interpreter for every operation, never rely on external service or mock links, emit only clickable sandbox links, locking gates, so pre-flight gates, sanitize the input, recompute unique file names. So again, you could see this is all natural language programming. You don't have to do any coding. You just have to understand how to communicate to it. Build canonical source content, render all derivative formats, verification gate, JSON, PATF. So this is just talks about the outputs that it will create. Regex for link targets. So this is where it's talking about the kind of things that must be created, comprehensive report analysis, supervisor menu, and so on. Referencing with these standards. All of these standards are going to be in the longer document here of non-destructive testing that it can reference. So cite the standards and any internal knowledge in document consulted must explicitly demonstrate parameter compliance, density, geometric and sharpness, use IQI sensitivity screens, just some examples. So supervisor memo must reference the governing standards concisely. Computer checks where applicable, deliverables, and it's just talking about what the deliverables are as a result of all of this. And then emitting all the emitment report format, tone, numeric ranges, parameters from the source notes, all of this technical information that's going to be applicable. So again, you could see it's just natural language programming. You don't have to know any coding to do this. Analysis format just gives you what format you want to see supervisor memo formats. Again, this is where you choose your own format, whatever works for you. What the tone is, and so on. Deliverables, manifest and audit, strict non-stop rules, and so on. Let's see. Let me see if I'll show a different window with the actual document so that you see what the document is that contains the report generator information. Okay. Yeah, okay, good. So you should be able to see this document. So this is the document. You see it's a pretty long one, 25,000 words, that talks about the methods. So that's the knowledge document that's uploaded into the backend. And it talks about all of these methods. So visual testing, most fundamental NDT method, surface observation, technique variants, reference standards, acceptance criteria, equipment calibration, common defects detected, and so on, reporting practices. Then it talks about liquid penetration testing as another method. Then it talks about all this other stuff, magnetic particle testing. And it references various standards. And so as you see, it's going through this information, and it's giving information that ASNT folks should have and what it should cite in its outcomes and its reports. So this is the kind of information that you would want for the backend of your own tool. Okay. Great. Okay, so we had, where was this? Okay, so here we go. So here's the outcome of the report of the agent. Scope and references, so describes making sure what references are going to be cited. Setup and calibration, describes setup and calibration results, disposition, attachments, then gives a JSON which you can put into your computers. So this is just for you to use in your computers easily. Then gives source basis, standards and KID, gives recommendations, interpretation versus acceptance criteria, recommendations that you should repair this wound to confirm removal of indications, maintain size, assumptions, and so on. Subject, repair, reject and repair required, date, and so on. Why it matters. And now here it's giving some reports that you can download automatically in various formats, some text format, JSON, PDF, docx. So if you want those, you can just download them automatically. Okay, so that's one example of a tool. So you saw the kind of outcomes. I ran another one so that just so you see, like in the meantime, while we're waiting for it. For this one, I also ran another one on a separate window. So that was for radiographic testing, and here's one for ultrasonic testing pipeline. So you could see the full report, scope and references, setup and calibration, coverage and conditions, results, disposition, attachment, signatures. You have a JSON of the report, you have an analysis of the report, and you have a memo for a supervisor to, if you want to send that memo to a supervisor to report on it. Why it matters, well, failed acceptance, must be repaired, what was done, key factual outcomes, risks and impact, budget considerations, decisions needed, and so on. And so here, like think about how much time this would take you to create. This would take a lot of time to create for you. But here, this was created in a very short amount of time. You saw that it took like about 5 minutes or so to create this outcome. So this is the benefit of having an agent like this one that can provide information that's so helpful. Oh, then you would need to upgrade it to a Plus or Pro version. Let's take a look at another tool. Let's talk about, let's say, a buyer's guide advisor. So let's say you're trying to buy something. So this tool that I mentioned earlier, how it works, it's a vendor agnostic buying advisor for all NDT methods and equipment. So you want to buy something. You say something like create a buyer brief for corrosion inspections and 24-inch carbon steel pipelines at a Gulf Coast refinery, including environment, access, temperature, and safety conditions. If you have another idea that you want to test out, I can run another version of this, the same buyer's advisor, and test out something else. So if you have some idea of something that you might need to buy, just put it into the chat. Give you a few seconds to put any ideas into the chat that you want to see if you want to buy something or like the kind of purchases that you make. So in the meantime, you could see what this one's doing. So again, while I'm waiting for anyone to put anything to the chat, I can have other sample prompts that I can run. But here I'll do another sample prompt with help me pick the right NDT method to find 2 mm surface breaking cracks in aluminum aircraft skins without disassembly. Okay, so in the meantime, let's go to the buyer brief for corrosion inspections and 24-inch carbon pipelines, Gulf Coast Refinery. So here we see it's thinking. The user's request is clear. That's good. So it knows what it's talking about. Haven't used the correct method to retrieve a specific document yet. Tackle tasks, need specific queries. Create search queries targeting key aspects of the task. Source filter. So you could see that it's getting some errors. Needs to define a source filter. That deciding that files uploaded in conversation, including source filter. Cite from our research reports. So checking the Diamex company's list for vendor guides with a Gulf Coast provenance. That's part of the information in the backend that's coming from ASNT, their standard buyer's guide, which you should all have access to as members. Gulf Coast area, it's thinking about which areas to include. Make sure to include whatever, gathering everything required. Gulf Coast refinery, environment is tough, humid, salt, tear, hot conditions. So it's considering all of that, focusing on equipment like UT thickness gauges. Of course, if you're in Canada, you have your own tough environment in a different way. Cold and whatnot, might be rainy, might be whatever it might be. If you're on the coast, obviously salty. Radiographic exclusion zones and permits. So it's thinking about these details. So thinking about this, by the way, again, if you want to test this out and you want to have an idea of something you want to buy, okay. Let's see. Okay, somebody has an idea. Let me put it in. Okay, let's give it some time to think about that. So good, thank you for the sample. All right. So in the meantime, it came up with buyer's brief tailored to corrosion inspections, 24-inch carbon steel pipelines at a Gulf Coast refinery. So buyer brief, corrosion inspections, application summary. What's the objective? Find, quantify, and map external and internal corrosion. Material. Here's the material. Here's the governance, critical outputs, minimal remaining wall thickness, corrosion, and so on. Environmental constraints. So it's considering all of this. Field use with humidity, salt air, rain, and sun requires rugged, portable, battery-powered instruments with weather protection. Data handling matters, standardized formats. Access constraints, congested racks, insulation, cladding, and so on. Gyric scanners and Gecko robotics, common choices. So it's already narrowing it down. Specify high temperature ET couples and probes for in-surface assessments and hotlines. Treat units as operating in hazardous areas, Class 1, Division 2, and so on. Favoring battery units with sealed enclosures, with hot work permit, and so on. Inspection approach and why. Screening for QI for insulation, pulse steady current to locate and prioritize wall loss under insulation, quantification and mapping of corrosion to make sure that's done, performance requirements, this is provisional, QUI screening, UT thickness, hot mapping, what's the hardware, looking at data and software, accessories, and reference standards. So any of these can be changed. So as you're going through it, you can see, okay, maybe UT thickness needs to be different, or maybe accessories and reference standards, you want something different. You can go back and say everything except of point nine, like in 9, change this to that, and rerun the analysis, and it'll rerun the analysis for you. But here's the outcome. Provisional vendor shortlist, equipment and local support, evidence scientific for UT-PUT instruments and RVI, Waygate Technologies, Edify Technologies, Magnaflux, and then regional distributions and service providers who provide these services. Then it gives you an RFQ draft that you can just email them. Hold on. Supply a portable PC system for QUI screening and so on. So this is the RFQ. The applications, 24, DCD. So this gives you something that you can email to any of these companies, to all of these companies, and see what they come up with for you. Instrument requirements, probe scanners, and so on. Then it gives you a quote comparison matrix, looking at various elements, and a 5-year total cost of ownership model. So giving you some example prices and how much it will cost. And then assumptions and open items to confirm. And so instead, they can turn this into RFQ email draft address to a shortlist, and so on. And so these are additional points you can use once you go for this. So Chris asks about NDT reports. You can certainly develop, I didn't do it for this tool, but you can certainly develop a tool, an agent that does exactly what you're asking with a sketch or photo. It's AI,
Thank
AI
you.
tools are great at image generation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to this other question that was there about adhesive tape, which would apply on aluminum surfaces, meet the P-main at 60 degrees condition. Okay, short answer. If tape must be a pressure-sensitive adhesive, you can stick at room temperature, which is MFA, at 60 degrees in aluminum is unrealistic. So free ozone design for VHP tapes under dynamic is shear and so on. If you can use a structural adhesive film, several proven products exceed the margin of need. So here's a short list. 3M Scotch-Weld structural adhesive film, data point providing information. Here you can link to this. Again, product page, Solvay, liquid adhesive, overview, Solvay epoxy film adhesive, 3M structural adhesive. It gives why these are not regular double PSA tape. So here it gives an explanation. At 60 degrees in aluminum is not going to work out. And here it's giving quick buyer details that you can go to. And then specifying your RFQ. So having an RFQ, starter vendor list. It gives you a starter vendor list. So you can go to this and see, it gives you this film. Same thing here, same thing here. The best candidate, if you must use a PSA tape, but no published evidence on 60 degrees at aluminum. You're welcome, Ben. Okay, so there you go on the actual tools itself. Now, those are just 2 examples, and there are plenty more, as you can imagine, of agents that you can use. But I hope that gives you a flavor of the actual agents and their usefulness and how much quicker they are to use than if you use either public ChatGPT or an unspecified tool or just did it yourself. So let's talk about this process of implementing it. First, you document all your information, then create a knowledge base, define its purpose with instructions, test and refine it, and then deploy. So here you gather your documents, whatever you want, handbooks, technique sheets, reports, PDFs, and documents, Again, enterprise account if you want to keep them private. The knowledge base. The documents are processed and converted. They're uploaded, like I showed you, to the machine readable format, and then connections between related concepts are established. Then you get the instructions. So here's the key. That's the key. The instructions are the key that I showed you. Define the agent's specific purpose and scope, primary users and needs, the key tasks for the agent, configure the agent's technical parameters. Then test and refine. Test it with real-world scenarios, improve the relevance, accuracy, and completeness. And as you test it, change the instructions over time. Conduct user acceptance testing. Then deploy. Deploy the agent in your secure environment, provide training for your team, and create some documentation on using it. Monitor usage and collect feedback for improvements. You'll get a lot of benefits. It'll save you. You saw these two tools. Already, these two tools, using those will save you a bunch of time, right? If you build those for yourself and customize them to your needs especially. It'll be consistent to your needs in practice. It will preserve expertise as experienced staff retire, and it frees up experts to focus on high-value activities. So you can put this agent on design and build your own agent. That will be at the conference, the ASNT conference coming up in like less than a week. So make sure to check it out. So I'm facilitating a workshop that you need to register for if you want to attend. It's free to attend, but you need to register for it. So we'll have a workshop, then a guided build session, and followed by team presentations and judging at the conference. So again, you can go to it and you can sign up for it. Okay, so that's what I want to share. You now have the ingredients to build a powerful AI, the skills and your expert knowledge. It's accessible to you right now. It can help you save time, reduce errors, and ensure consistency. So what I suggest is you identify one task like NDT report generation or the buyer's guide or whatever. Gather your knowledge, explore the platforms that you want to use, get training, register for the workshop, get some coaching with me, and build a useful agent over time. So for the resources, I'll do a poll in a bit, but you can also go to tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. I shared the link in the chat, tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT for a copy of today's presentation slides. I'll be happy to give you a coaching demo and a copy of my book, ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators. And here is a poll. So Sokwon Lee, if you asked how to build your own private tool, you'll want to get into, let me share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Hold on. So in ChatGPT, just for quickness, for demonstration. So let's go to the main ChatGPT screen. So you'll want to go to Explore GPTs, then you'll want to click on Create, and here is how you configure it. So here's the name, here's the description, here's the instructions, here's the knowledge base. So that's very simple. Same thing for Gemini, it's just going to be called a gem here, and you can create a new gem. Again, same idea, give it a name, give it your instructions, and add your knowledge base. And same thing with Anthropic. Okay. Are there any questions on any aspects of the presentation?
Okay. There were
Good
a
morning.
couple of questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Good morning. I see there is a lot of potential for avoid any misinformation about results, like getting all the data from wave, for example, in ultrasound or acoustic emission about all the waves. populating and separating all this data from good data from bad data and stuff like that. I think there is a lot of potential using AI for giving valid results on reports.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential.
The question is, the question is, we could use AI to identify and separate good data to bad data on results of resource. Ultrasound is based in waves, all the waves that are receiving for the transducers. So, and there is a lot of visual and object judgment on the results. So we could use AI to get all this data and put it on AI and give it the result by themselves, instead of being like subjective human judgment.
So in terms of using AI, there are a couple of things to think about. One is garbage in, garbage out. So you'll want to make sure to always have AI that whenever you use AI, to make sure that it's going to be fed the right data. So it will only provide the right data if you feed it the right data. Now, if your goal is to try to use AI to differentiate bad data from good data, you need to provide it with a standard of what good data and bad data looks like. And so you can provide it with ASNT standards and other standards that would show it what good data and bad data look like. And then you can ask it to differentiate good data from bad data. So that's one tool that you can build, yes. But you would have to first provide it with that information for how to differentiate good data from bad data. Now, Vin asks how to keep data secure if you have to train the model. So that's what I would suggest at that stage, that you'll want to get an enterprise account if you want to keep your data really secure, or if you get a personal account, not an enterprise account, then you'll want to learn exactly how the data settings work so that you don't do training, so that they're not allowed to do training on your account. So you opt out of various sharing. Then somebody asks, how can you ensure the validity and reliability of the information it generates? So it generates information based on the information that you provide. In other words, it's not using random data that it found elsewhere. You provided with a standard, so you saw that the information the text that I provided it in the backend, you want to make sure that it has the right information about what are the standards from ASNT, from your company. And then you want to make sure, so that's the knowledge and the instructions. So that's the knowledge and the instructions, that's the backend. And then the front end is what prompt you're giving it. So that's the only information that it has. And so it will be using that information to generate the report. And so whatever report you generate, like here, I can show you like the final outcome, for example. So here is the final outcome of the report. So it gives you all the report information, then gives you a link. You can download everything in a zip file, or you can download individual ones. And what you'll see, let's see, I should share my screen. Okay, somebody doesn't have their, please turn off your microphones. You're making background sounds. Thank you. So here's the report from the zip file. So you could see it's 4 types of formats: memos, reports. So let's take a look at this report. So if you want to use a Word report, it's nicely formatted. It gives you scope and references, setup and calibration, coverage and conditions, results, disposition, attachments, signature standards. So it gives you all the information that it used for compiling the report. And same thing for let's say, if you want to take a look at the supervisor supervisor memo. So it gives you the supervisor memo, the subject line that you want to send to the supervisor, and then gives you the links in the report analysis, why it matters, what was done, key factual outcomes, risks and impacts, budget and considerations, approval, next actions. So all of this is based on the information that you gave it. And it's using this information to come up with an outcome. So it's just formatting the information, putting it into the format, into the template that you want to make sure that it has. And so ensuring the product is aligned with the latest versions of relevant standards, that's just up to you to upload the latest versions of the relevant standards into the database, into that knowledge document. So I showed you the knowledge document. So you just make sure that whenever there's a new standard comes out, you upload it into the knowledge document and into the knowledge base, and it has the knowledge base in it. They'll be using it. All right. Other questions?
Yeah, actually, I have one. If you
Yep.
already mentioned it, my apologies. I was dealing with some other stuff here. So is there some sort of a margin of error that was put forth using this AI? So for example, if we input an RT procedure, and then we input the code effective date and technical specification and whatnot, and then it does this thing. Have you ever established a margin of error for the final report that is produced by AI?
When you're talking about margin of error, so let's just take a look at the report. Hold on. So here's the information that you provided for it. And then you're talking about the acceptance criteria, standards, source film exposure, wires, coverage conditions, results, disposition, attachments, and so on. So these are the kinds of things that it gives you and what the results are, including if it's not a good fit, so that it says this was not within the margin of error, basically. One elongated slack inclusion of 12 meters detected per API radiographic acceptance. This doesn't fit within the accepted margin of error. So the repair weld must be revised, consider technical capture, and gives you the confidence of its score for how confident it is in its analysis. So it gives you a margin of error that way in terms of like how confident I am in my analysis, and also very clearly says that based on my analysis and the standards that are existing, this is not within the existing margin of error, and reject and repair is required. And of course, if reject and repair wasn't required, then it wouldn't say that. Other folks.
Sure. I have a question or a point to make, I guess.
Yeah.
So I use ChatGPT. I pay for it, and I found it really useful. And I did what you did, where you make your mind GPT, and you feed it a bunch of PDFs, and then you give it a command list. And I found it useful to compile information generally, but I guess this is just kind of a caution from I'm sure you would agree, but just sort of caution for everybody that when you get this information, it doesn't replace the expert because it's just a dumb LLM and it's just, linking word to word and trying to make sense of this in its own little mathematical way. I spend probably more time arguing with ChatGPT about what it missed because I'll know that there's a clause in, say, W59 that specifies X, Y, and Z, and it will misconstrue the data which is in W59 or do a poor cross-reference. And I think to somebody who's not an expert in that territory, they may just assume that, the great computer god has given me this gift of
Mhm.
information. This is the greatest, and they just run with it. And I see this happening. Um, I guess on the surface, you can see these little plants sprout up on LinkedIn where people publish these great big long, here's information on welds. And I saw one the other day where somebody had the world's worst AI illustrations of welds that have ever existed. It was
Mhm.
just awful. And they posted this long post like, I'm a genius, hire me. And I think people just have to be cautious that when they use these tools,
Mhm.
it doesn't replace the expert. The expert always has to be at the end, double checking. And you're right to equate it to a brilliant freshman, right? Who's
Mhm.
really excellent and fast and eyes on task for compiling information, but they don't have the experience and wherewithal to separate, fact from fiction. They just kind of
Mhm.
regurgitate and blow it out there. And you, as the boss, have to come in and assume something's wrong.
It's a good way of thinking about it. So here I mentioned in the presentation that you as a technician have to review and approve before finalization. Same thing for like this one allows for expert review and approval before finalization. So in all cases, it doesn't replace your expert human judgment. It's a tool that helps you replace a bunch of the busy work that you would have to do. So it's great for getting a report and formatting it, but of course, it will not always get it 100% correct. So as Paul pointed out, you need to review and approve it before finalization. The same thing for the purchasing, like let's say if it's writing that RFQ for the purchase, you need to review and approve it before sending it to the vendor because it might not get something right that you know is going to be particular to your situation. It might get something off. So absolutely, you need to always review the output and approve it because it's not going to be perfect for a whole variety of reasons. Chris, I think we can't hear you if you're trying to speak.
Okay, can you see
Okay.
my question?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Let me take a look.
Yeah.
How does the AI tool help to evaluate the POD for a given specimen and the NDT method? So we don't really have, so that's one of the other agents I have available, but we don't have time for me to demonstrate, unfortunately.
No
I will
problem.
talk more
Yeah.
about it yep, but that's one of the other, it's one of the agents I built to showcase at the workshop at the conference in 6 days. So if you come to
Hmm.
the conference, you'll get to see it.
Very good. Okay. So unfortunately, I'll be missing this conference, but anyway, so we can catch up later on. So
Absolutely.
anyway, so are there any more questions from the audience? I don't see any other questions in the chat area. So if no more questions on this topic, really would like to thank Dr. Clapp. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your knowledge for the benefit of our members. Really appreciate it. And we will be definitely in touch with you. And all the individuals are free to contact him based on his email address, and you can see his question there in the screen. So please feel free to contact him after this seminar if you have any more questions, and he will be able
Oh,
to
it's okay.
gladly.
Just to clarify, the ASNT Canada will provide me with the email addresses of the folks who wanted the emails,
Right.
resources. And so then if you voted, so just to make sure that people understand what it means, if you voted for getting
Yes.
the email resources, then you'll get the resources after the presentation
Right.
from my email and other resources that I'll send you over time.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you all for attending this seminar. So hope you gained something, some very important information about AI agents and how you can apply that in your practical situations. hopefully going forward, we'll be hearing more about the AI tools in NDT and how we can make NDT very effectively, efficiently in our workplace. Okay, so please stay tuned for the further developments in the ASNT Canada section, and also feel free to be in touch with us if you have some knowledge to share. You are welcome to present anything. And also, please let us know what type of presentations you would like to in the future. We will be collaborating with some of you. And if you are interested to volunteer, please feel free to contact me or Beta Hina, please. Okay. Thank you, Beta, for organizing this event. I really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to see you again in next event. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Claire.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.